You click Register a company in Estonia. The website says it can be done in a few hours once all documents are ready and properly signed. 2 weeks later, you are still lonely and aimlessly hunting for apostilles, scanning passports in hotel lobbies, filling in the same shareholder table for the third time. The problem is almost never the form itself. The problem is the documents behind the form. Welcome to Icon.Partners channel, and in this video, we are going to do a deep dive into exactly that. The documents you actually need to open a company in Estonia if you are a tech founder. Not in theory, but in the way service providers, registrars, and banks will look at your file. If you already watched our videos on Estonia as a jurisdiction and on relocating there as a founder, think of this as the paperwork episode. We are not going to re-explain Estonian corporate tax or personal tax. We have separate episodes for that. Here we focus on a single question. If you want an Estonian private limited company, the classic OU, what papers are actually expected from you and from your company step by step? We will talk about 2 layers of documents. First, the corporate documents the Estonian commercial register needs in order to register your company at all. Second, the documents around you and your business that service providers, accountants, and banks will ask for as part of their Know Your Client checks. If you get these 2 layers right, the famous open a company in a day promise suddenly becomes realistic again. At the center of every Estonian company file, there are a few basic elements the commercial register cares about. You need a name that is available and follows the local rules. You need at least 1 shareholder and at least 1 member of the management board. Also, you need a registered office address in Estonia, and for companies whose management board is located outside Estonia, who will officially receive documents for the company. All of this is expressed in a small bundle of documents, most of which are generated and signed inside the e-business register system, in case if all founders and board members use Estonian digital signatures. The key one is the Articles of Association. It spells out the share capital, the number and nominal value of shares, how decisions are made, how profit is distributed, and what the financial year is. For simple tech companies, people usually start with a fairly standard template and adjust it later when investors come in. If you are founding the company alone as a private person, and you already have Estonian digital ID or e-Residency, the system can generate and sign most of these documents for you. The articles, the application to register the company, and the acceptance of your role as a management board member all happen remotely. So at the pure corporate level, you are really preparing 3 things: the articles, the information about shareholders and board members, and proof that the company has a local address and, if required, a contact person. Everything else hangs off that. The commercial register mostly looks at you as a physical entity. As a founder, almost every serious service provider in Estonia, you will ask you for a very similar set of documents. Law firms, accountants, virtual office providers, and later banks and fintechs. You will almost always need a clear, readable, and properly notarized copy of your passport. Many providers want it in color and may ask for a selfie or video verification that matches the document. For some projects, especially in regulated or higher risk sectors, you will also be asked for a short CV or professional background. That tells compliance teams that there is a real person behind the company who has at least some connection to the business they want to run. If there are several founders or beneficial owners, every person in that chain needs to produce the same set of documents. The weakest link in the KYC chain can slow down the entire incorporation. Estonian law firms and company service providers have lived through enough mystery clients to know that the company form never tells the whole story. That is why the next block of documents is about your business itself. Usually they will ask for a short description of what the company will actually do. For a SaaS startup, it might be development and licensing of a specific software product with examples of customer profiles. For an agency, it might be digital marketing services with clients in particular countries. Vague phrases like IT and consulting tend to trigger more questions, not fewer. You may also be asked for an ownership chart if the Estonian company is part of a bigger group. A simple diagram that shows who owns what percentage and in which countries the other entities are located can save a lot of email back and forth later. So far, we've talked about the normal case, but a few common variations generate extra documentation that founders are often not ready for. If your shareholder is a company from another country, that company usually needs to prove its own existence and who controls it. That means a fresh extract from its local commercial register and a chain of documents showing who the ultimate beneficial owners are. Depending on the jurisdiction, these documents may need notarization and an apostille. If documents are not in English or Estonian, they normally need to be translated by a sworn translator. Sending over a homemade translation next to a registry extract in an unfamiliar language almost always leads to delays, because the service provider then has to decide whether they can rely on it. If you are not using Estonian digital signatures, or if some founder cannot sign electronically, a power of attorney may be needed so that a local lawyer or agent can sign the incorporation application on their behalf. That power of attorney again often needs notarization and, for many countries, an apostille. And if the company is planned as a regulated business from day one, for example, a payment institution, an investment firm, or a virtual asset service provider, there is a whole extra layer of policies, internal rules, and personal questionnaires for managers. In that case, the documents for opening a company and documents for getting a license blend into one big project. Founders often ask how long all this takes if everything goes reasonably well. The honest answer is that the time to register the company itself is often the shortest part. The real timeline lives in the documents. The first few days are usually spent collecting KYC documents from founders and beneficial owners, passports, diagrams of the ownership structure, and a short description of the planned business. After the registration, your service provider will suggest or draft the articles of association and confirm details like company name and share capital. Once all people and all pieces are clear on paper, the actual filing to the commercial register can be quick, especially if everyone signs with Estonian digital signatures. In straightforward cases, the company appears in the register within a couple of business days. What often takes longer is everything that happens after registration: onboarding with an accountant, opening accounts with banks or EMIs, and, where needed, registering for VAT, which is a separate process with its own review and document requirements. All of those steps reuse the same document set you prepared at the beginning, in addition, your proof of address. That is why it is worth doing that first round properly. There are a few patterns we see repeatedly that cost founders time. One is inconsistent data. Your passport says one spelling of your name, your CV uses another, your LinkedIn and the draft articles show a third. Your address is written in 3 different formats. None of this looks dramatic, but for compliance teams it creates friction and extra checks. Another is sending documents that are almost but not quite usable: blurry scans, cropped pages, proofs of address with no date, registry extracts that are several years old, or translations that nobody is sure they can rely on. And a third is trying to hide complexity. If there is a trust, a nominee arrangement, or an old holding company somewhere in the background, hoping nobody will notice is usually the slowest strategy. In Estonia, most serious providers would rather see an honest, complicated structure with explanations than a simplified story that falls apart on the first Google search. And here's the honest part: everything we've just described about documents is how the system works in the background. But when you come to Icon.Partners as a client, your personal interaction with that bureaucracy looks much simpler. In practice, it all runs through our partners on the ground in Estonia. We work with them constantly, so all those complex requirements from the register, notaries, and compliance teams turn into a very short checklist for you. Here is what it usually looks like. If you already have e-Residency, we collect some basic information from you, prepare all draft documents, and, together with our Estonian colleagues, set up the company online. You simply sign what's needed with your e-Resident card, no visits to a notary, no hunting for 10 different certificates. If you don't have e-Residency yet, we still don't turn this into a horror movie. In the standard case, we need just 2 things from you: a power of attorney in favor of our Estonian partner so they can sign on your behalf, and a notarized copy of the first page of your passport. That's it. From there, the Estonian team runs the full checklist with the register and the notary, while you just wait for the "company is ready" message. After registration, you receive exactly the documents you actually need: the articles of association and the official extract from the Estonian commercial register. Those are the papers you'll use to open accounts, sign contracts, and talk to investors. All the other background material, additional certificates, translations, internal forms, exists, but we keep it on our side together with our partners. For you, it feels like a few clear steps and a firm deadline, not a never-ending document chase. So our job is not to hand you a list of 20 items and say good luck. Our job is to use our connections and experience in Estonia so that you pass through a complicated system almost touchlessly. Minimum documents from you, maximum work on our and our Estonian partners' side. If you are a founder thinking, I don't mind paperwork, I just don't want to fight the same battle 3 times, then a proper document strategy is your best friend in Estonia, with which we will help. In other episodes on this channel, we talk about Estonia's banking system and relocation options. In upcoming videos, we'll connect all of that into complete structure maps for SaaS companies, agencies, fintechs, and holding setups. If you'd like to talk through what the document side of an Estonian company would look like in your specific case, you'll find our contact details in the description. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.